Hey you guys, back with another little video blog. I know a lot of my talks are kind of like maybe, I don't know, motivational or spiritual or kind of like a sermon type, but in this one I'm just gonna kind of share some of my struggles, to be honest, because I know that some of the people I really love and relate to the most are those who share what's going on in their life. And so in me sharing, hopefully some of you feel a little more healing in your heart, or even just feel like you're not alone. So yeah, it's been about a year in Dallas. I'm starting to like it now, which is really great. I have to say starting to, because the first year has been a really hard struggle, actually. And not that there hasn't been a lot of wonderful things. I've met some incredible people. I've had some incredible experiences. But the culture has been hard to adjust to, and just the life here in general has been really hard for me personally. I was trying to, and to be honest, when I first was sharing this, I didn't like it at all when I first moved here, and I was pretty bitter and even really cold and harsh about some of the things I said about culture here. And I don't think that's fair, because I didn't really have I had a very limited experience here, but what I was feeling bitter and resentful for was the loud message that the culture here was sending. And I say the loud aspect of the culture because I don't think it's the majority of culture here. It's a very large place with a lot of wonderful, diverse people. But in any place you live, there's going to be some sort of loud culture and some sort of message that gives. And I realized part of that message that I had been hearing, I couldn't discern it. I just knew it didn't make me feel good, and it made me feel like I didn't belong. But part of that message was that you should strive for the status quo, and the status quo is what's best in life. And coming from LA, which is so different, where there really isn't a status quo, again, like the status quo in America is usually put together, and all of us are struggling in LA, and so there's something really refreshing to be just not alone in the struggle, whereas here I felt like I had to be a certain way or be perceived as though I had it all together, and I was just freed from that living in LA, living with other Christians there who were very honest and real about their struggles. And then not only that, like I don't fit the status quo, whether that's good or bad. I mean, I don't think any of us really do. I think we just strive to, because we're told to do that. But one of my friends, Tyreek, he lives in Seattle now, but he was living in Dallas too, and he had spent a lot of time in LA as well. And just for example, like both him and I had shared, we were like, what the heck, like we were asked on way more dates in LA than we are in Dallas. Like, what's up with that? And again, neither him or I are people that fit the status quo. And so it was really hard not to be hurt by that aspect of the louder culture that we were hearing and being influenced by. As I've had more time here, I've met plenty of people who aren't like that, but I guess I also want to share that, just because if you're someone who has felt that way in society, who has felt like you just don't quite fit, just know that you're not alone, but also that you're the very person that Jesus called to be one of his followers, and that's something that's really refreshing. I think one hard thing about being around a culture where a lot of people are striving for the status quo but also claiming to be Christians, that can be really hard. Because Christianity is not the status quo, not even close. It's the exact opposite. I think I found a church that I like, and I'm still church hopping. There's a ton of wonderful churches here, and so I on my own part have to be more diligent to search and to find something. But some of the bigger churches that people have encouraged me to go to, it's just been hard because it hasn't been necessarily spaces where I feel like I can be broken and just, or not even, I mean, we are broken people, but also just like not have to like put on airs or some sort of pretense. Like I have to fit some sort of status quo, or I have to be really happy, or I have to be like really trendy. And I don't want to go to a church feeling like I have to be that way, you know, like you want to go into a spiritual space feeling like come as you are, and knowing that I'm going to be healed and better when I leave. But yeah, that's been part of my struggle here. And I share a lot of spiritual things with you guys, but I'm not a Christian because I think I have it all together. I'm a Christian because I know I am the least of these in society, and I know that, gosh, I can't do it without God. It's only after years of counseling and just diligence with the Lord and God's grace in my life that I'm finally, at 31 years old, getting a job with a salary. Like, thank you, God. Part of my brokenness definitely has been financial struggle. And so that's been really hard. But I was just thinking, as I've been just back in kind of a society, again, it's not all people, but it's just the loud part of the culture saying that you have to have it all together. I just thought how damaging that can be for the Christian faith. I remember in college, man, I really messed up one night with a friend, just like partying, making some really bad decisions. And I felt really bad about it because it was a friend who wasn't a Christian and who I had been praying for. I don't feel like I have an evangelical heart in the sense of evangelizing, but as Christians, if we've experienced the best thing of salvation, when we really love someone, it's natural for us to want that for them. And so this was a friend where I literally like wept over the thought of like them not being in heaven with me someday. It just grieved me. And so the fact that I like really messed up, sorry, my light just went out, but that's okay. I'm just gonna continue going, be real with y'all. But the fact that I really messed up with this friend, I was just like, man, like I bet anything that I had ever shared with this friend about Jesus or Christianity is totally lost now. And that really grieved me. But even through my own brokenness and my own sin, and a couple days of just crying and grieving, God just put it on my mind to share with this friend, like, hey, like, I'm so sorry I did mess up here. Like, I don't want to condone what I did or say it was right, but I also want you to know that I'm not a Christian because I think I have it all together. I'm a Christian because I know I don't, and I know I can't do this life without God. Sorry, it brings me to tears just because, like, I just so feel that way sometimes, you guys. Like, I'm not a Christian because I have it all together. Like, and so I think I've just struggled being around a loud culture that tells me I have to have it all together because I don't fit within that. And by God's grace, no one has told me I'm really unique. Growing up, that was actually a really painful thing for people to tell me that. For a while, like when I was younger, I was like, oh, I love that. I love the idea of being unique. Well, first off, I think we're all unique. It's just a matter of whether we're willing to tap into our true identity God has given us. But sometimes that does mean loneliness. And so as I got older, if someone ever told me like, oh, you're so unique, like even if they meant it as a compliment, I didn't see any positive in it. The only thing I felt was like, oh my gosh, like I just thought of all the loneliness I had experienced from being unique. Because oftentimes when someone thinks you're so unique, it's just human nature that what's unfamiliar we push away. It's like, oh, we don't know what to do with this, so we're not going to dive into the unknown here. And so I feel like there's just been a lot of times where my uniqueness has been unknown for people and has prevented people from drawing near or closer to me. And I kind of feel like that's been part of the struggle this past year in Dallas. There's just some cultural norms, and none of us have to fit into them, and I'm finding some really great people who aren't expecting me to, and so I'm really grateful for that. But I just wanted you to share with you, because if you're someone like me who has ever felt this way, who has ever felt like, even just simply, I think all of us have felt to some level who we are isn't enough or is too much. You're not alone in that. It's not true. You are enough. I am enough. So let's not believe that to be a truth, but feeling that way is real. That's very real. And we luckily have a God who doesn't push us away when we feel like we're too much or we're not enough, but he embraces us. And so that's part of what keeps me going back to God, is knowing that, like, I don't have to be a certain way with God. I can be exactly who I am, and he fully, accepts me and loves me. And so just know that you have a God who does the very same for you. He is a gentleman, so he's not going to push his way into your life or force himself on you. You get to choose him. But just know that I have found that in Jesus, and he's offering that to any of us.